Welcome again! This week we are joined by the floundering career of Cuba Gooding Jr., who has found a niche on the DVD market, which is a good thing because he needs to get cash where he can since his career is like a ticking clock. Yes, the entire spiel was a setup for that bad joke. A down-on-his-luck journalist, played by Cuba, stumbles upon the journal of a murderer, which holds plans to murder specific people at specific times. Cuba does the obvious thing and alerts the cops. Wait, no. That'd be intelligent. He actually investigates on his own, finding that every trail leads to a young orphan living in a group home. As you may expect, this movie is packed with cliches. Impractical events move along the story. The over-aggressive cop assumes the main character is the killer because he hates him, although it's hard to blame him when Cuba's character continuously puts himself in a position to be blamed instead of acting like a logical person. There is a unique twist taken about midway through the movie. The script has an interesting idea, but it has a hard time pushing it along without being absurd. I was more than willing to accept the twist. I just wish they had found a better way to explain why Cuba would not be working with the cops. That's a main thing for me. He's the main character, I'm supposed to identify with what he's going through, and I'm just sitting there wondering why he's being so stupid. On the other side of the spectrum, Neil McDonough, or at least that's how I'm going to pronounce it, brings his creepy to the show as our serial killer. And he is effective for the most part. I personally don't think he got enough screen time, but that's complete and utter bias. However, in the end, this movie faces the same problem as other films I've reviewed. Horribly confusing endings that, if studied on for more than 10 seconds, breaks down into a sea of muddled ideas. I'll say it over and over, and perhaps even over again. The ending is a crucial part. Mess up the ending, and a great film becomes good. And a decent film, well, it becomes ticking clock. I give this movie a C. It's potentially good, it's got ideas, but it's hampered by its ending and the fact that it's hard to associate with the main character at times. If you're interested, perhaps due to Cuba Gooding Jr., I'd recommend that you rent only. Now this is where I go into spoilers. So despite not knowing it going into this movie, I figured out time traveling was involved about 5 minutes into it, because the movie opens up with McDonough murdering someone in 1999, then we jump to 2011 where he kills again and didn't age one bit in the process. I guess that was a very subtle hint. Then again, maybe it wasn't supposed to be a surprise later on in the movie, but the way it was presented then sure made it seem like it was supposed to be. The essential story here is that Neil is a time traveler, out to correct his horrible childhood by killing those who ruined his life, because that plan's as good as any other. This includes his mother, his orphanage director, and the teacher who reported him for killing a cat during recess. Cuba figures this out and visits the young current Neil. This somehow connects them. Don't worry though, because somehow this never affects the timeline. As for the ending, future Neil decides to frame Cuba Gooding for the murders, and then kill him, making it seem as if younger Neil was defending himself. This way the young man can be a hero and get plenty of love and attention. When Cuba brings young Neil to meet his future self, there ends up being a scuffle, where future Neil accidentally knocks current Neil off a roof to his death. And then, well, everything dissolves. You might as well just say the whole movie is just a dream, because it never happened. The timeline got broken. And then, we see Cuba Gooding Jr. again, giving a deus ex explanation, shrugging off how he's able to remember everything, because time travel's weird like that, I guess. So we get a happy sappy ending with Cuba hugging his wife and son since he's no longer down on his luck. We see that our young current Neil is still alive, in kid form, and living in a house. I have no clue whatsoever what that means. But the voiceover tries to make it sound like a good thing. I could probably break down the issues on the time-traveling flaws, which you can tell from the way it's wrote that the screenwriter is just hoping you won't do that. So I'm not going to do that here. Besides, in order for me to break down the issues on time traveling, I'd have to travel back in time just to fit it all in. So until next time, just tell the cops. Duh.